Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey there, everyone. Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle back with you here. Just about 9:24 here on a Friday evening, or no, Thursday evening. Don't get a day ahead of yourself, Aaron. That's next year. Literally, that's a whole 1 year from now in about 2.5 hours. So thanks for joining me. Happy New Year to all of you. I'm glad you could join me here just for a few minutes. Just going to give you an update on the weather, on the winter storm that you've known has been coming here for several days. So hopefully it's not a surprise to you. And we're going to talk about what the latest looks like and what you can expect. So I'm glad that you joined me here this evening. Pull up that old frosty beverage or that bottle of bubbly, whatever you want to do, and hang out with AT just for a few minutes on New Year's Eve. And then I got to let you go because I got some New Year's Eve things to do. You know what I'm saying? So, but I did have a few minutes. I thought I'd drop in and see what the latest was. Keep in mind, I'm doing this cold, meaning, unlike what you may be thinking, I have not sat here and just looked at weather data this nonstop. I've been doing a lot of things. So I'm just going to now pull it up as we speak. So you have to bear with me if it seems a little rough or a little slower, because we're all going to see it together in real time. All right. Well, first thing I want to show you, that right there. Yep, that's a tree here in the neighborhood. Now, why is it glistening, you might add? Well, it's glistening because it's got that nice coating of ice already on it. And it's only going to get more ice over the next couple of hours. So I know the tree's going to get hurt again. I lost both of my trees, so I'm fine. I lost two 15-year-old trees, nothing left, not even a stump. So, but for those that may have survived the last one, they may struggle a little bit on this one. It won't be as much of rain, by the way, as let me put this thing on mute. Freezing rain is what we had that last time around, but it's still going to be significant. It's still going to cause some power outages, all that kind of stuff, but it's just going to be more of it. All right, so let's move on from that. In case you don't look out your own window, you can look out mine. And then we'll get you now onto the weather map. So the first thing here is the radar view over Oklahoma. And here in Oklahoma City, kind of zooming in, temperatures are all right around 32 degrees. So with a dew point of either 28, 29, or 30 or 31. So what that means is the dew point depression, when you factor in with the temperature and the dew point, wet bulbs down to about 30 to 31 degrees, which is basically below freezing. So that means that's why we're seeing the freezing rain out there. And why it's mostly going to be elevated issue versus a ground issue. Once actual air temperatures get down into like 27, that's when it becomes a nightmare on roadways immediately. At least this way we have a fighting chance for the ground temps, to heat through the roadway. But at nighttime it's going to be a little slippery. So like I said before, bridges and overpasses first here this evening, and then watch some of the main roads after midnight, especially when the heavy precipitation falls. Right now the model's trying to forecast or show in real time how the ice is kind of roughly from south sides of Oklahoma City, Lawton, back out here to just east of the metro, and then kind of cutting up through Lincoln, and then it kind of just does a quick little curve here around Tulsa and then up into Osage County. So this is the kind of the freezing line, as you will, over the state. So everything out in this region is just all liquid rain. Everything here is the rain that's freezing on contact, mixed in with a little bit of sleet. So this is the storm system in its full effect. Here's another view of that here as well. And we can look up some of these little ping reports that'll show up on here. So like in Norman, there's freezing rain, and down here there's another little pink thing there for freezing rain. Even out west here toward Anadarko, freezing rain. Weatherford, freezing rain. So you kind of get the picture here. So not much has changed there. Now the heavy stuff, there seems to be a break in the action here across Pauls Valley and Ardmore. A little light break before more heavier precipitation will fill in. There's a nice little band along the Red River, and this is rotating northward. So it may lighten up a bit at times, but overall, we're kind of in a pattern of lift in the atmosphere. It's going to keep squeezing out precipitation. So put this in a motion for you. Let's see. Let's go back in time. Hit the old play button. What you'll notice is everything kind of rotates in to this direction, right? So out here in far western Oklahoma, this white stuff, in theory, is just all snow, very light snow, just west of Enid to just about Woodward, and then back down toward Roger Mills and Dewey, where temperatures are cold enough aloft in the atmosphere to produce snow. But otherwise, for the rest of us, we got this mixed bag of nonsense for a while. So yes, this is an ice storm currently, which should transition to a snowstorm, probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's take a look at some of the latest data on that. So we're going to stop this. All right, we're going to minimize that too. The winter storm warning continues in effect here in the areas in pink across the state, so that's nothing new for you. That extends from just west of Bartlesville to just west of Tulsa to Stillwater, Oklahoma City, all the way back down to Lawton, Wichita Falls, etc., etc. When we look at temperatures outside, let me refresh this as well, we can really find out where that freezing line is. Let's see here. It shows up, so 30, the red, by the way, is the actual air temperature. So 32 degrees runs about like so, on down to here, snakes around the river a bit, and then back out in here, and then we kind of get messy as we head into the panhandle. And then actually above freezing, way up here in this little section here. So this is all because of precipitation in this region. That's why these temperatures have fallen. They're wet bulbing down to the dew point value. What you can also notice in this map, you see where these wind barbs disappear? Oh, so let me redraw that better. Let's see. So right here from just around Stillwater, back in Oklahoma City, Chickasha, down toward Lawton, and then back into just north of Ardmore, kind of in this vicinity, how you have no winds anymore. You see all the wind speeds all around it? That's because the stations have all frozen over in the ice. So significant icing has occurred on the equipment that takes away the wind. So that's where you can see where the ice is really thickened up. So that's so far, that corridor is where the heaviest ice accumulations has been. Now if you look at the upper level storm system itself, the center of it is right about here, southwest of Dallas-Fort Worth, probably just west of Waco, and it's going to continue to make its way up to the northeast here into eastern, southeastern Oklahoma after midnight tonight. And you can see all the moisture associated with it piling on in. This is on the water vapor loop. You do see a dry area in this yellow region east of Dallas, this little spot right here that's wrapping in. So this is dry air that'll filter into eastern, southeastern Oklahoma, whereas we should stay on the moist side here across central Oklahoma for the most part as this rotates on in. All right, so now what else do we have here to take a look at? Storm Prediction Center, let's see, they issued this mesoscale discussion for both freezing rain, winter mixed precipitation. Let's see, that was earlier at 7 o'clock. Okay, so that's old. So nothing new here, I don't think. Let me go back and look at this. Greatest short-term freezing sleet and freezing rain. Yep, got all that. Warm air advection at 7:38. Did I see that earlier? This is new. Okay. So let me take a quick look at this. Henderson, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just scanning through. If there's anything important, I'll shoot it out at you. So I'm going to read this quietly. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, so yeah, some good stuff in here. All right, so we've got ample supply of moisture obviously coming in with 5 degrees Celsius temperatures around 850 millibars in Oklahoma City forecast sounding. We've talked about that over and over in the profile of the atmosphere. Warmer temperatures in the surface to 850 layer have inhibited greater winter weather precipitation rates across portions of Oklahoma so far. However, given the southward advection of relatively drier air surface, 27 to 30 dew points from farther north, temperatures may drop a few degrees over the next several hours. Occasional instances of freezing rain over the next several hours. Yada, yada, yada. From Oklahoma City down to Wichita Falls. Additional freezing rain, sleet overnight. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so that's absolutely nothing new. Okay, so let's... by the way, there was also a discussion like this for Missouri. southwest Missouri for more freezing rain. So you guys, again, will be in that ice storm area. Same kind of discussion, temperatures below freezing and copious amounts of moisture piling on in. Okay, so let's take a look. Before I get to the model data, I want to look at the sounding to see that profile. Remember, I hadn't seen any of this stuff, so I'm going to look at it real time, and you're going to look at it with me. It's not like you got anywhere to go, I mean, right? All right. That warm nose I mentioned, 5-degree temperature at Celsius, right here, it's this nudge. So this nudge right here is what's causing our freezing rain. Temperatures get below freezing left of this dashed blue line that goes up and down like this. So it refreezes on contact with a dew point 31. So wet bulbing, again, right about 31 degrees, 31 and a half. That's freezing rain, my folks. Elevated surfaces, I looked out my back patio, already had a accumulation of ice on all the furniture out there. Okay, so that's the sounding. Otherwise, we are saturated all the way up to 500 millibars. And this is the snow growth layer in this area, so pretty saturated there. So that's, in other words, snow is developing up here, but melting once it gets to that warm nose. All right, so let's see. What else we got for you that I can show you of interest? What would I want to do? Oh, let's take a look at rainfall totals, and it might be interesting to see how well things were recorded before they froze up. So we've seen a lot of rain here in south central Oklahoma, 7/10, and then 3/10 so far up here in central Oklahoma. So keep in mind, some of this is frozen, like it's in the form of ice. You know, like in other words, the thickness. Some of it will run off and drip off and melt off, but a lot of it's still going to stay accumulated. So in other words, you don't have 3/4 of an inch of ice down here in Pauls Valley. But what you do have is some definitely significant ice. So it could easily be 1/4 of an inch. I haven't looked at any pictures or anything like that from down there. Just guesstimating at this time. Okay, so let's go with some model data. Oh, by the way, before we hit the model data, temperatures out there low 40s, upper 30s. This is ground temperatures, 2-inch soil. So we're starting to cool down. Once you get into the 30s, that's kind of it makes those roads easier to freeze over with time. Let's take a look here at the big picture. Minimize this legend. Looks like there's no closed roads or anything like that, although there's plenty of traffic moving along on all the roadways. And a lot of these have, like I told you, anytime you want to see an actual picture, just click on the image and you'll be able to see the road conditions as these truck drivers and everybody else drives through them. Here in Oklahoma City, things are moving pretty easy, all green, so that means speeds are doing pretty good. And of course, Tulsa, you guys are actually 2 degrees above freezing. I think you're about 34, so you're okay. If you were to go down to Lawton and check that out, traffic moving along looks like pretty good so far. No issue there. We've got Purcell on here. Let's take a look at them real quick. See if they show up. So I-35 looks to be okay. So this is kind of a way you can just check real quick to see how road conditions are doing across the state in general. So there's a control plus. There we go. I'm zooming across the state. So these all start turning different colors once they slow down or have some ice in the bridges. This is on AaronTotalWeather.com. Also my free weather app, AT's Weather to Go. Just hit the menu item for weather data. On the app, it's actually shortcutted right there for you. It's called Oklahoma Road Conditions. So you'll be able to find that real easy. And you'll also be able to see power outages on here too, and that's going to become a popular map to look at here over the next few hours. I don't think there's any power outages right now. I haven't checked, but there shouldn't be. You need at least a minimum of 1/4 of an inch of ice and some strong winds to really do some massive outages. Looks like we do have a few. Whether it's related to weather, I can't tell you for sure, but here in Oklahoma City, there's at least a few customers here on OG&E. They got about 376 as an example. So there you go. So there are a few power outages. Whether or not it's weather related, I don't know yet, but I do expect them to be weather related with time. Okay, let's go look at the model data. This is let me zoom this into Oklahoma itself. By the way, it looks like the models or the track has jotted a little to the east, just a hair enough to bring, looks like possibly, fingers crossed, by midnight, a little bit of light snow in western Tarrant County, and that's this little box right here. So Western Tarrant County, a little bit of snow. So that's about a 15-mile difference from most of the rest of the data from earlier today. And I warned you all night yesterday and day before that the exact track won't be perfect in the model data because it's coming out of Mexico, but it'll be close enough. So right now it's like still the bulk of it is out west of the metro of Dallas-Fort Worth. Okay, so let's head on to Oklahoma View. Oh, yeah. Let me log in. Blah, blah, blah. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. All right, so of course we've got the freezing rain and sleet mixed in now. You can see this is through 11 o'clock, through 12 o'clock, through 1 a.m., and then here we go. Like magic, 2 a.m., we transition. So all this blue that's out here, it's all snow, starts to override and overtake this icy mix here at 2 o'clock in the morning. So that's where we start to get our heavy snow developing here in central Oklahoma. And that continues till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5, 6 starts to dry up and move away. There's 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Here's 10 o'clock in the morning. There's Tulsa still getting a few flurries. Still some light snow in northern Enid and Parlesville. And then that's about it. So by lunchtime, it should be all out of the state. The residual atmosphere is cloudy, cold, still saturate the lowest levels. You could have either a little flurry activity, very tiny grains, or a little bit of light freezing drizzle. Then as we head into Saturday, early morning hours, this is Friday night, Saturday morning, the model's painting rain, but it should be painting snow. So there's a little bit of light snow that moves through central and eastern Oklahoma, which may give some folks up to about a dusting of snow, maybe an inch. So it's not that big of a deal, especially compared to what we're dealing with now. But I just want to throw that in there. Okay, so let's look at totals, see what's changed. Now this will not take into account anything prior to 7 o'clock. In other words, that 4 to 7 p.m. window where it came in from the south, it will not include that. But we're going to conclude from this point forward. So no change at all. About half an inch or so of ice over central Oklahoma, back down toward Lawton, and all these little heavier pockets of darker blue shading. Stretches on up just north and west of Tulsa. I mean, you guys in Tulsa missed it, by this much, just by the hair of your skin of your teeth. Up to Bartlesville and at southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri. So that's where all the ice storm criteria is going to be met. Now let's take a look at snowfall amounts. Again, this will be limited because a lot of this moisture is being used to produce ice. So in general, amounts will be less than what they could have been. Like earlier, for example, this model had been going crazy snow amounts, like 14, 20 inches of snow. Well, it also didn't have any ice. It finally wised up, realized there's going to be ice, and then it cut those totals in half. So here anywhere from Oklahoma City, for example, it's got 5 inches of snow. And it's got up to around 10 inches, though, once you get just west of Canadian County, and then down I-40 and up toward Enid. There's an 8-inch mark. Now, it will not know the exact placement of these heavier pockets of snow. A lot of these are various convergence zones, convective areas. It's not going to be a little thunder snow tonight. You might hear that at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But you can see the snow band is a little bit more to the east in the latest model data. So it's over here, Shawnee, down toward Paoli, Pauls Valley, and then back up to just right through Tulsa, but just barely. And then up through Bartlesville and southeastern Kansas and southwest Missouri. So some of you can get some really good snow totals on top of the freezing rain that falls. Let's see, let's go through time. And yeah, the other little batch of snow that triggers Friday night, Saturday morning isn't even really worth discussing. Like I said, it's about an inch, looks like, in some cases. Okay, so that's kind of how things ought to look for the short term. This model updates actually every hour on the hour, so I'll see if it's changed in its last 2 runs, because the first one I showed you was from 7. And no, looks still about the same. It's got these just random pockets here of 8-10 inches of snow. See how they kind of move around? They're never consistent in one place. So what you just look for is a trend, which is you're going to have lighter snow amounts here because you're dealing with ice, right? And then because temperature's a little bit colder back in this region, you have a better opportunity of just dealing with pure snow for much of the event, not all of it, because the beginning of this event is ice, but from midnight onward, especially in this area here, and that allows you to get more stronger accumulations. So there you have that. Okay, let's see here. What else do I want to show? I haven't seen any of the other data. I'll just go ahead and take a peek. Why not, right? We're all friends here. Let's take a look at the NAM model. Snowfall amounts. Look at that. It's almost identical to the HER model. Where have you been, NAM? You should have done this days ago, but you were late to the party. Well, at least it agreed with the short-term high-res model, so that's good. Same kind of look with the heavier band pockets out here just west of Oklahoma City. If you're wondering, what am I going to get at my house? Well, it's a 50-50 dartboard deal, but the swath, depending on which side you live in the band, the east side or the west side, if you live in the east side of the band, you're up anywhere from a dusting to a couple of inches. You go to the west side of the band, you're anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 inches, depending on what you get hit with. So that's an open-ended question. On the ice part of it, this model here also was late to the party. It had it too far west and not enough east. I think overshot it, went a little too far east on this last run. But at least it has a general idea of where some of the heavier stuff is. So that's good. Let's see here. Let's do, is the Canadian in? The Canadian is in. Now, I will tell you, the Canadian better not disappoint me because it has been rock solid for this event. It has been the winner of all of this. And the European has not. All right, so on the Canadian, it's still coming out with the ice in the same location, so this matches the HER and matches all of my previous forecasts as far as placement, which is just on the north and west side of Tulsa, stretching down to the east side, south side of Oklahoma City, down toward Norman, back out toward Lawton, and this little band, hard line of the sand out here. So that has not changed, not wavered, and anywhere in here is 3/4 to 1/2 inch of ice accumulations. That seems doable because earlier the only thing the Canadian model tends to overdo is ice accumulations when we're far away from the event. It goes overboard too much. You got to cut them back. Even in the big ice storm in October, when I looked at some of the data there, it was outlandish. I was like, there's no possible way you're getting 3 inches of solid ice, right? And we did get a lot of ice, but we didn't get 3 inches worth. But that's how this model can get a little carried away when it does that. But now it's finally caught on because we're at the event itself, so it should. But here's a look at the snowfall totals for that. This will be in addition to, of course, the ice. And as usual, it's got the more snow out west because it has to deal with the ice transition. But even in central Oklahoma, in the metro, it's got anywhere from 2 inches to 5 inches. Piedmont, 5 inches, and then 2 inches down south and east. But it's got pockets here of 4 between Little Axe and Shawnee, kind of example. Even down south, 35, 3 inches Paul's Valley. So little pockets of those heavy snow dumps are going to be all over in this region. And there's Tulsa just on the edge, just enough to taste it, is the way it looks right now. Okay, so that's a look at the Canadian model. So I'm fine with that output, and that jives with the forecast. Let me see if there's anything else I would like to see. I really don't need to see anything more. This is pretty much it. Let's take a look at the radar again here real quick. Apologies, folks that are late. This is the freezing rain from Elk City to Enid, and then back out here to central Oklahoma. Out here in Tulsa, you're just above by a couple of degrees. You're 34 degrees, whereas we're about 32 everywhere else within this region where the radar is trying to change the color over. It likes to pop different pretty colors on the map. It's very Christmassy, if I do say so myself. So it has a tough time trying to pick which area of this rain is frozen or not. It just blotches on the map. So it does its best. It's just sometimes its best just isn't quite good enough. We look at the cross correlation coefficient though. This color in red, deeper red, indicates where you've got a solid area of just freezing rain. When you get into here at this elevation between here and here, this is where the melting line is. So if I look at the distance in elevation, that's at 2,800 feet. So the melting line, or the warm layer, that 850 millibar warm layer, plus 5 degrees Celsius temps, is residing between 2,600 feet and 6,900 feet. All right, in that width column of the atmosphere. So that's the thickness of that warm layer as that snow falls through that warm layer from 2,900 to 6,700 feet. As it falls through that, it's a 6,700, 2,900. So snow falls through, gets into that layer, melts to regular old-fashioned rain. Then it gets below 2,900 feet, all the way down the surface, and it's refreezing. So it's trying to freeze as it works its way down. When it does manage to refreeze right before it hits the ground, it turns into sleet. And that's the little sounds, those little pebbles you hear. When it doesn't have quite enough time, it flash freezes when it just splatters on something, trees, overpasses, that kind of deal. So that's what this radar image is showing you here. So, okay. All right. And let's see here. Well, there's something else I wanted to look at. I believe the thing that's important in an event like this is these dew point values here in the mid-20s, right? And they're upper 20s here in the northern northeastern Oklahoma. Well, you need to keep this fire going. You need these low to mid dew points to continue to advect southward. So these little wind barbs represent a north wind. So there's a north wind. These are all north winds, kind of north-northeast. This one's more northeast. This one's northeast. So what you do is you look upstream at the air mass up here. And then where's this air mass headed? Okay, well, it's heading southward. And then what's in the air mass? Well, dew point values in the 20s. You're thinking, why is that important? Because you need to, it's like ammunition. You got a front line of soldiers all firing their guns, right? And you run out of ammunition. You need replenishing. You need to have new batches come up to that front line and dump new cartridges in there, cases of ammo. Well, these 20s are cases of ammo, and they're in the 20s, so that's going to keep it cold. That's going to keep that ice going. It'll help to keep the snow going once we get colder aloft in the upper levels. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you. Let's take a look at that. I talked about this at 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's a real easy explainer, I think, to help understand what's happening. So let me do that, and then I'll look at a couple of questions, and I'm going to call it, because it's New Year's Eve, baby. Let's see. Let's do 850 temp. All right, and I may switch over to the NAM model for this. Let's see how this is going to work for me. 9, 12. Yeah, this will work for me. This is good. Just an explainer. That's all I need. Okay, so this is the area of low pressure here at 850 millibars. So the storm system is vertical, right? You have low all the way up, surface to bottom. So that's where the low is currently. And you get this warm Gulf air rotating counterclockwise at this level, rotating in. So that is where warm air is coming from, that nose and the sounding. And what happens is, so that's plus 8, plus 4, plus 5 degrees, plus 2 degrees, plus 9. As long as that's there, that's going to be ice for us here in central Oklahoma. So for it to change over to snow, you have to have these blue colors. How does that happen? The storm gets closer to you and then deepens. So let's move this into time. So this is 9 p.m. and this is midnight. And look what happens. All of a sudden, now we have all these blues starting to show up here in central Oklahoma. It's a mixed bag. There's +1, there's -1. So that's the transition. Midnight is all three. The heavy freezing rain, heavy sleet, and the snow all trying to transition and come down at the same time. And then as that column continues to cool from the top down and erode that warm layer, the low gets closer. So the low is now centered north of Dallas here along the southern Red River. And what you now see is the temperatures here are all below freezing. So there's -4. So the warm layer is completely gone. So where'd it go? Well, some of it is shoved back out here. So into Missouri and Arkansas, keeping the warmth going in southeast Oklahoma. But what happens here is that as the upper level low deepens and bombs out, so to speak, a lot of that cold air transfers downward. And as it does so, it cools the column, the entire column below freezing, in kind of in this axis fashion. And then it, with the winds the way they are, it rotates that cold air back underneath it to this level. So we get the nice cold pool that develops here, and that transitions everything over to snow. And that's why around 2 o'clock in the morning from that point forward, it should just be all heavy snow till the storm system moves far enough away to where it all lightens up and takes it with us, or takes it with it. So that was a neat little explainer. Hope that was understandable. Just gonna look at one other thing here. Man, whew. Good grief. Okay, so this is the lift in the atmosphere, vertical velocities. This is where you're really wringing out moisture, right? So the brighter the colors, the better the lift. So as we go through now, watch how it's just moving in waves across Oklahoma, even North Texas, waves of lift, which creates precipitation. From midnight hours, here's a big band covering the southern half of Oklahoma, and it moves northward through central Oklahoma to the other side, the northern half of Oklahoma, by 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's the biggest wave or biggest push of the heaviest precipitation. Then after that, the lift moves into Kansas, which means anything that's still residual after about 5 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning is going to be much lighter than during that sweet spot here from a couple hours from now through about 3 and 4 o'clock. All right, that was the Canadian. I'm going to look at the NAM. Just curious, see if they kind of match up. So there's 9 p.m. and then there's midnight. Just nasty. Then there's 3 a.m. It starts to shift north. Still barely hanging on here in central Oklahoma. And then by 6 o'clock in the morning, it is north. And then moving into Kansas, and it's gone quickly by tomorrow morning. There's a little batch of lift that comes in Friday evening and Saturday morning. You see, it's not nearly as deep in those colors, which means the lift is there. It's just not as strong. It's a lot weaker. But that's enough to produce a little bit of light snow as it moves on by for us for on early Saturday. All right. That was it. I think that's all. Every time I say I think that's it, I think of something else. By the way, I can't thank all of you enough for sending me some stars over the last few weeks since Facebook turned it on for me. That's just it's just a way to gift your content creators, those of you folks that you watch, that you enjoy what they put together and produce. So I appreciate that. That was very thoughtful of you. Let's see on YouTube. Hola Sergio, ¿cómo está ustedes, amigo? Let's see, Amber, you're welcome. Jim's here. He's trying to listen and talk at the same time and chew gum. You can do it, brother. Tom says, is it getting worse? You betcha. This is just the start. Tammy is not late to the party. She is here. All right, so you guys that are on Twitter and Periscope, if you had any questions, shoot them real quick, and I'll try to answer them before I sign off. Let me mute that. And then I'm going to load up my patrons and my main Facebook page. Okay, so my patrons. So to be a patron, you can either join up through the Facebook fan subscriptions, or you can do it through Patreon itself, and I give you access to the closed group Facebook page for weather, and then you get notifications through that group page, just like you would on the main page, but you get better notifications than you do, because the main page won't always tell you when I go live and that kind of deal. So it's one way to kind of help make sure you know when I go live. So I broadcast both simultaneously. Paula, good to see you. Larry says already a good amount of ice on trees and power lines here and more. LaDonna says snow all dried up, huh? I don't know what you're talking about, but hold your breath. Give it a couple hours and then come back and check on with me. Karen, happy New Year's Eve right back to you. Let's see. Happy New Year to you too, LaDonna. Jody's in the other room waiting on me. She's like, you better make this quick. I got some champagne to crack open. I'm like, all right, let's do this, Canadian style. That's why I went with the Canadian model. See? Let's see, Mary, I know there's ice on the trees and power line. I know it. Take a sip of something hard for me, Papa Pump. You got it, Jariah. You're welcome, Scott and Bethany. Yes, Mary, definitely. You are the cool kids. All right, main page here real quick. By the way, I would love for you guys to just do a one-liner type of the amount of ice that you have. So just type in the ice in your town. That's all I need. Just real quick, and I want to shout it out so we'll know how much ice is falling in your particular area. Because I can only go up a few comments. Like Doug, for example, says glaze of ice from the trees in Norman, so that's helpful. Thunder in Hera, Leah, oh, that's helpful. Let's see what else we got. We got heavy snow in Ranger, Texas with thunder snow. Yeah, baby. You know what? Thunder snow does not happen that often. It's rather rare. So when it happens, it's cool. Mark, I'm definitely going to spend some time with Jody here, and T-minus probably about 5 minutes. Jeanette, can't thank you enough for your forecast and explanations. You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm glad you watch. I'm glad you tell your friends and family about me and you support me and all that. So it's kudos and Happy New Year to you. You too, Reese. All right, so let's see. Having to drive from Tulsa to Oak City tomorrow. Yeah, that can happen. Check that road conditions map on my app, AT's Weather to Go. You're welcome, Dottie. Let's see. Covered in ice in Wayne, Courtney. Okay, good to know. Yukon just now getting on. Kayla's late to the party. You're welcome, Kay. Bridge Creek has glaze and windy. Oh, the wind. Let me take a look at the wind, and then I'm for real done. Shawnee, freezing rain. Earthquake in Chickasha. LaDonna's trying to beat everybody. Then we have freezing rain in Clinton. Ice-coated trees at Porch and Tuttle. Okay. Glaze of ice in Draper. Got it. Mike, I don't know where you live, but you got 2.5 inches of rain with lightning and thunder. Solid rain in Enid still. It's got to be freezing rain, I would imagine. El Reno, ice on vehicles. Glaze of ice in Hera. Thunder and Broken Bow. Unfortunately, or fortunately, how you want to look at it, it's all pure just rain at this point up there. Lawton is very icy and windy. Yeah, the wind should be kicking up, and that's why I wanted to go look at that again real quick. I did kind of glanced over that, even though I've talked about it multiple times. I didn't mention it tonight, so let me go and look. The wind. Let's do that. All right, so the first thing we check is actual surface map. And this should have caught my eye, but I was focused on the temperatures. Down here in southwest Oklahoma, these are gusts to 36, 36, 33, 38, 44 miles per hour down here in southwest Oklahoma. Whoa, that's crazy. That's good. That means the models have verified on the ridiculous amounts of wind that they said would take shape with this. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at the prognostic situation here with the wind gusts. All right. Let's see here. Through time, look at those spots of yellow. That's 50 mile per hour wind. So that's verification. That's at 9 p.m. Whoa, that's as midnight. Winds up around 55 to 60 in this region right here, southwest Oklahoma City. And these winds or the location within this can be anywhere. This is a generic plot of the winds, not a county or city specific forecast of wind speed when you're forecasting these gusts like that. The heavy round moves through the state overnight into 3 o'clock in the morning. It's now 50 plus up here in southeast Kansas. We still have some near 50 out here in western Oklahoma overnight. And then by the morning, still some winds up around 50 here in western Oklahoma. Otherwise, they start to die down by mid-morning to late morning, and in the afternoon, it's a gentle breeze. So that was the NAM. We'll take a look at the HER, and I'm going to go a little closer in. So the other day when I was like 2020 in with a blizzard, I was kind of not really joking, just because if you get some 50 mile per hour winds, blowing, drifting snow, you can't see, zero visibility, that's something. All right, so let's go. Let's do, how far out does this go? No, not far enough. But, doesn't quite go far enough, but look what it's doing. So the model is picking up, the HER model, on that pocket of wind down here in southwest Oklahoma that's developing around Lawton at 50 miles per hour. So over 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, it keeps it centered here over the body of the state. I'm going to go an hour past before that. So let's go back down to that period of time. And there we go. Same idea. There's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, or 13. 1 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon. So that kind of gives you an idea, kind of similar to the NAM output. It's going to be windy overnight, and unfortunately with the ice accumulations, we're going to get some power outages due to that. So that was the other component. I knew I was forgetting something, and that was it. So thanks for whoever yelled out there, wind, because that got my attention. So that was good. Okay, trees sounded crunchy in northwest Oklahoma City. I believe it. I saw my trees again in El Reno. The nerd in me appreciates how you break everything down. You're welcome, Stephanie. Steady high winds and rain in Kingston. Yukon, cold windy rain, freezing on our fence. All that jazz, cold cord. I gotcha. Let me see here. Glaze of ice in Norman, Oklahoma City. Larry says there's about 2/10 of an inch of ice in Moore. So that's just under 1/4 of an inch, and you got a lot more to go. It's going to get heavier from here, so you can probably add in another 1/4 of that. So that's up to about 1/2 inch ice. That goes with the model data. So that's an ice storm. And then we got the snow on top of it. That's a winter storm, snowstorm. You can call it any kind of storm you want. It doesn't really matter. They're just terminology used. They're adjectives. It's a winter storm. It's going to be ugly. All right, listen, I got to get out of here because it is New Year's Eve. So listen, from my house to yours, Jody and myself would like to wish all of you a very happy new year. Fingers crossed that 2021 is going to kick ass. And I don't mean our ass. I mean just in general, be awesome, because none of us want to repeat 2020. So that's what I'm going to say about that. All right, you guys have a great night. It's good seeing you. Good talking with you. Thanks for putting your trust and faith in me on the forecasts and watching over the last few days and how things are going and all the Facebook stars and everything else, and just your support overall in general, liking, sharing, and telling people about AT's weather, because that really helps out. It gives me those warm fuzzies and lets me know that I'm doing a good thing for everybody, and I'll continue to do it. You guys have a wonderful time. Be safe. Hit the roads. Drive slow. 2 hands on the steering wheel. 4-wheel drive. Watch out for others. Good night, everybody.